Hello and welcome to the Michael Mamas Show. I'm your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwara Temple in the mountains of western North Carolina. And today is the first day of Shravan Mas. Shravan Mas is it's the month of Lord Shiva. So temple is busy. I went down already, and for the next month, every day is going to be pretty busy, which is great. Um, I'd like to start out by thanking the people and just thanking, I don't know, just being thankful for the fact that we put out that call for people to come and help. And we got a number of volunteers and, we're in good shape. We could always use, an overall manager, especially when the new kitchen remodel is finished. But, we're doing well now. So thank you, everybody, for your good wishes, Um, I also want to apologize really because we got this new crew in, and the individual that kind of heads all that up got delayed. They were out of town. They got delayed, so they weren't here Saturday. And there was a huge crowd and chaos, because I tried to get down there. I tried to organize it and everything, but people didn't really, the new staff wasn't really trained yet, So it was a little chaotic, but to everybody's there, thanks for your understanding and your patience. And we're back on track now, so things should be good. I've always, as I think we all do, just love the sunrise, in the morning. And I remember, I was just a kid when I just, no pun intended, but it just dawned on me that the sun was a god. I remember that the sun was rising one morning and it was just incredible. And, it just kind of, I got it, and the sun, Surya, in the morning is Aditya, different names for Surya, for the sun, based on time of day, I guess. And Aditya's consort, his companion, is Usha, and that is, the goddess of the sunrise, the goddess of the dawn. And I think it's just so beautiful because, it gives the expression then that the rising sun is the union of divinity with the earth. God is rising and unifying with the earth. I think it's a beautiful, Vedic knowledge is just so beautiful, and well, like Einstein said, can you describe a sunrise or sunset? I forget, in terms of pure physics. And he said, if you can, you can, but if you do, it loses its meaning. And Vedic knowledge gives it its meaning. And then as you work with Vedic knowledge more and more, you realize more and more that the meaning is the thing. The physics is important. Our relationship with other people, it's all about the meaning, but nevertheless, it's the telephones, the computers, all the technology, that's physics. And so it's so essential, but it's two sides of the same coin. I've heard it said that physics is king of the universe, and the heart, the feeling level, the subjective component is the queen of the universe. And the thing is then the language. That's where modern physics is stuck, is because they're not speaking the language that interfaces so effectively, so poignantly with nature. But Vedic knowledge does that. All the pujas, the havans, everything. It's all about interfacing with nature and working with nature. So it becomes a technology of nature based on the aspect of it that is the most meaningful, the most poignant, the most powerful. Right now, as we've said, we call it a dirty fishbowl. The global consciousness is, there's pollution, on all levels. not just air pollution, but on all levels, consciousness pollution like that. As we clear those cobwebs, clean that pollution, what happens then is these subtle technologies of the pujas and the havans become ever increasingly more powerful, more effective. Right now, the whole thing, it's like all the gears are gunked up, So that's what Mount Soma is about. There's because there are technologies described clearly in the Veda of how to purify global consciousness. And that's why we built Mount Soma. That's what Mount Soma is all about. So it is it's a technology. It's a scientific component of Vedic knowledge. And we want to build it. And so you see, here's the thing. You can hear that. How long did it take me to say that? 10 seconds? And so you get it, okay? Okay, I get it. There's a technology and it purifies global consciousness, and then everything works super fluidly and wonderfully, and life is bliss for everybody. But that's just to get it intellectually. But as you work with all of this, you come to the point where you know it's true, just as well as 2 + 2 = 4. Mathematics is valid. That kind of a thing. You just know it. And until it comes to that point, it just becomes something you get. Okay, I get it, and you put it on the shelf, and that's the end of it. But the time is coming when the sun rises. It's interesting. Just tangential. J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate, his wife's name is Usha, which I thought. You can go different places with that. I guess if you're really into the Republican Party, you'd say, it's no coincidence. They're going to take over the White House, and it's going to be the dawn, of an enlightened age. Of course, if you're a Democrat and you look at it, you say, it's just coincidence, doesn't mean anything. So such is life, huh? It's all perspective. At any rate, I was talking to somebody, and they were saying, well, okay, the age of enlightenment is coming, and we're going to build the enlightened city, and you have to work on that level. That'll transform the world. Kind of blowing off the surface, just don't worry about it. And no, you have to worry about it. And the point is, we have to deal with the global cards that were dealt at the time. And that applies for everything, our personal lives, our national lives, our international lives. So we still have to, I think it's important, particularly right now, and I know we don't like to do it. I don't like to do it all that much. Sometimes it's very disheartening, but it's good to pay attention to the news, especially now in the United States with the different presidential candidates. Just pay attention. Make your own decision, but have it be an educated decision. Hear different perspectives. Use your sense, your common sense. Of course, when we say common sense, the left thinks they're using common sense. The right thinks they're using common sense. So these are all things you have to decide for yourself, but do it in an educated way. And realize that we have to pay attention and deal with the cards we're dealt right now. We can't wait around. And the time is critical. And this is really the important point of this whole podcast. There's a lot of talk about the world being on the cusp of World War III. And even in the Vedic literature, this is the time of that phase transition. And it can come about as an Armageddon where you wipe the slate clean, or just as a seamless transition into an enlightened age. It hasn't been as seamless as it could be, because if we just employed this technology 20 years ago, and I started pushing it in earnest, back in 94, and it led to where we're at now with construction of Mount Soma, building the enlightened city, that unified field purifying generator that will transform global consciousness, yada, yada. But now we're really getting to the critical moment, and we can't let up. And if people didn't just get it, but if they knew it, if they really knew it, if they found it in themselves, this is valid, that enlightened city would have been built by now. So many people have heard me talk, oh yeah, we get it, The Vedic pundits know it. They're right. But it's interesting difference that the Vedic pundits, I don't know, it's almost cultural, I guess, but it's easier for them to accept the way the world is. That's Kali Yuga, you know, and that might well be wiser than how I am, but I can't help but push for it. The technology is there. Let's make it happen. Let's go for it. In the past, they made the joke about me, you know, that all the saints and sages know all about it, but they realize the conflict and the negativity it draws and stuff, and they just don't want to deal with it. So they were like, let Mikey do it, you know. So anyway, that's what's going on. So these days, that has to be where my full attention is. I was even too busy just working with Mount Soma and everything, and the temple yesterday to even do the podcast. So I did it today, and please, I've said it before, but my attention now has to really be on getting this going. There's some promising relationships developing, and I really am hopeful then that we might really start to build the remainder of what is yet needed to be built to complete the unified fuel generator, the Enlightened City, and get that construction going in earnest, full speed ahead shortly. So that's where my attention is these days, and that's what I'm working on. Anything, Scotty, you'd like to add? I know you got it early in Hawaii there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good. So
yeah. Oh, one last thing. You know, with the Trump attempted assassination, I said then we will never know the real story behind what happened. And it's really amazing because speaking of watching the news, I've watched some of the congressional inquiries with the head of the Secret Service and then the guy that replaced her. They're just not getting to the bottom of it. They really aren't. I mean, it's just a shell game, you know, and we will never know. But one thing we do know is that the characters, and I'm sure there will be, well, already the head of the Secret Service resigned. Those are only pawns in the game. And there might be other people that fall, but they're only pawns in their game. We will never know. And there's so many, you know, conspiracy theories on YouTube and that about, you know, who really is behind this thing. We'll never know, you know. But I do believe that the people involved, even the kid that shot that gun and all, only pawns in the game, you know. Okay, Scotty, is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.